Okay, so if you've been watching the markets, you know Indian IT stocks have been in a bit of a slump for a while. But then, all of a sudden, they just roared back to life. It kind of caught everyone off guard. So what's really going on here? We're going to dive into what's being called a perfect storm of factors that sent these stocks through the roof.
Just to put this in perspective, let's look at one number, 8%. That's how much Oracle Financial Services jumped in a single day. And that one move, that was the spark that kicked off this huge rebound across the entire Indian IT sector.
Now, a gain like that is, well, it's massive. And you have to ask, right? Was that just a one-off, a lucky fluke? Or was it a sign of something much, much bigger happening? Well, it turns out this wasn't just about one piece of good news. Nope, we're talking about four totally separate things that all hit at the exact same time, creating this, perfect storm for these stocks.
All right, so first up, let's just take a moment to really appreciate the scale of what happened here. This wasn't about one or two companies getting lucky. No, this was a powerful wave that basically lifted all boats in the sector.
And that's what's so telling, right? You see OFSS leading the charge with that huge 8% jump, but look at the others. Persistent Systems and Infosys, they were both up almost 5%. Even the big guys, the giants like TCS and Infosys, they got a serious boost. This tells you right away, the good feelings weren't just in one corner of the market, they were everywhere.
So, the big question is, what lit the fuse? What started all this? And what's really interesting is that the story doesn't actually begin in India. Nope. It starts thousands of miles away, with a couple of major global events that just completely flipped the script for the market.
Okay, so driver number one. This one was all about politics. For months, right, you had these simmering trade tensions between India and the US, a lot of uncertainty. And then, almost out of nowhere, the conversation completely changed. It went very public and very, very positive.
I mean, look at this. This statement from the US president, this was exactly what the market was desperate to hear. It just sliced right through all that uncertainty about tariffs and basically screamed, hey, we're going to figure this out.
And here's the kicker. India's prime minister immediately came out and said basically the same thing. That public show of being on the same page, it was a massive sigh of relief for the Indian IT sector. Because let's be real, they were bracing for the worst, for a potential trade war.
And if you're wondering why those two statements mattered so much, well, here's the number you need to know. A massive 55 to 60% of all revenue for the Indian IT sector comes directly from the US. So yeah, any little hint of a trade problem is a major threat. And on the flip side, any sign of everyone getting along, that's a huge, huge boost.
So while all that political stuff was happening, another piece of the global puzzle just clicked perfectly into place. And this time, it came from a US tech giant. We're talking about Oracle, the parent company of OFSS, which came out with an absolutely monster report on its cloud business.
55%. That's how much their cloud revenue jumped. And it was all being fueled by this massive global demand for AI. So Oracle's stock hits a record high, and that wave of good news just immediately washes over to its Indian subsidiary, and really the entire Indian IT ecosystem, because they're the ones who are critical partners in actually building out all that cloud infrastructure.
Okay, so the global stage is set, things are looking good. But the story doesn't end there. Back home in India, two more big triggers were about to get thrown on the fire.
Driver number 3 comes from one of India's own heavyweights, Infosys. The company announced that its board was thinking about a share buyback, and for investors, that was like a giant flashing sign that said, we're feeling good about the future.
So, you might be wondering, what's the big deal about a buyback? Well, it's pretty simple actually. The company takes its own cash and buys its own stock from the open market. That means there are fewer shares out there, which automatically boosts the earnings per share for everyone who still holds the stock. But more than the math, it's the message it sends. It's management saying, we are so confident in our future that we're willing to bet on ourselves.
And finally, the fourth driver. This one has nothing to do with politics or company announcements. This is just pure economics. The Indian rupee had gotten a bit weaker against the US dollar, and for IT companies that export their services, that's actually really good news.
Think about it like this. The math is really simple, but it's super powerful. These Indian IT companies, they get paid for their work in strong US dollars. But their biggest costs, things like salaries for all their employees in India, they pay for those in Indian rupees. So when the rupee gets weaker, that gap between what they earn and what they spend gets wider. It's like an automatic boost to their profit margins, without them even having to make another sale.
So there you have it.
4 really powerful drivers, all hitting at the same time. Which, of course, leads us to the million-dollar question for anyone with money in the market. Is this for real? Can this momentum actually keep going?
I mean, what we've really witnessed here is that classic perfect storm scenario. You had the good news on the political front from the US, you had that huge surge in tech demand shown by Oracle, you had a big show of confidence from Infosys right here at home, and then you had the currency moving in just the right direction. Everything just lined up perfectly.
So let's just recap real quick. You've got the big picture, the macro stuff looking great. The US-India trade optimism, Oracle's incredible cloud business, and then at the same time, the small picture, the micro stuff is also looking fantastic. Infosys showing confidence, and the rupee giving everyone a nice little profit bump. Literally every single signal was pointing in the right direction.
And that brings us right back to that big question. The good feelings, the sentiment, has obviously shifted in a huge way. But for this rally to really last, to have real legs, all these positive signals need to turn into something concrete. We actually need to see those trade deals get signed. We need to see clients open up their budgets. For now, the momentum is definitely there, you can't deny it. But the real test for the Indian IT sector? Well, that's just getting started.